Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. You know, in season 11, we are concentrating on Southern ingredients and Southern techniques. What could be better than waking up in the morning and somebody is cooking bacon? So today the show is all about one of my favorite ingredients in cooking, bacon. We're also going to do the techniques of how to prepare bacon. 4 different ones today. We're going to start with cooking it where everybody does, on top of the stove, but I've got a trick that I can show you with my particular cooktop. Then we're going to move to the grill, great way to cook bacon, and then the oven, which also keeps you from having a mess in the kitchen, and then finally, if you need bacon quick, the microwave. So we've got 3 great recipes today. We're going to start with a baked macaroni and cheese that has bacon in it. Then we're going to do a Brussels sprouts salad with an apple cider vinaigrette and maybe put a little bacon in that and the kids might try it. And then finally for dessert, a bacon caramel brownie that is just fabulous. So I've got all of my ingredients out on the counter and I'm ready to get started on that baked macaroni and cheese. Okay, so macaroni and cheese, there must be a million recipes, but we thought this one was very interesting because it had the bacon in it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started on my roux, and I've got my butter melted over here. I'm gonna add in my flour. We got a little bit of dry mustard, give it a little bit of a tang, which is nice, and then pepper. And I'm just gonna add just a little bit of salt. You know, you don't need quite as much when you're using the dry mustard. So whisk this around. And you know, with a roux, one of the qualities that you want is for it to get a little bit toasty, so you get some of that brown butter flavor, which really makes this nice. So I'm gonna let that cook kind of on a low temp for a few minutes. And let me tell you what I went ahead and did in advance. So I love to use my pottery when I'm doing particular settings, and I love my pottery casserole dish, so I buttered it very well. And then, you know, the techniques that we're going to talk about today include how to cook bacon 4 different ways. So on this one, I used my Lodge cast iron skillet, and you want to start with a cold skillet when cooking bacon, because you want that bacon to be nice and flat. But you know, I know y'all are thinking I'm crazy because I've got a towel laying on my cooktop. Well, my Wolf induction cooktop has the feature where it's like a magnet. So it goes through the pan and it really doesn't heat anything that's in between. So when I'm cooking bacon or if I'm frying anything else, I put a tea towel down, put the skillet on top, and then you don't get that splatter, and you can just lift that towel off and you're done. So when you start with the cold pan, your bacon is not gonna get all curly on the outside. All right, I also went ahead and cut the pieces into little bite-sized pieces. All right, so I've got my buttermilk and whole milk cooking in another pan, because you're also going to make a really nice creamy mixture there. So let's add breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese and half of this bacon to what is going to go on the top of this after it's cooked. So I'm just going to mix that together. And I've also already gone ahead and cooked my elbow macaroni. It cooks for about 8 to 11 minutes on top of the stove. And then hold out a couple of cups of the water that you've cooked it in, so that if it does stick together, when you get ready to use it, you can rinse it again with some of that water and it brings it back to where it's not sticking together. Okay, so let's see how this roux is doing over here. It's looking pretty good. And so now I am going to add to this some cheese. And I've got mozzarella and cheddar. And this is such a cheesy macaroni and cheese too. The recipe is really, and it makes quite a lot. So I've also buttered another pan because I'm going to take some to a neighbor. Okay, so I'm going to switch from my whisk to mix these together. And over here, my milk mixture is just getting heated through. All right, so let's add the egg to this. And you know, that trick about the bacon in the pan, you know, there's so many little instruments that you can use, like almost like an iron that you can sit on top of the bacon so it doesn't curl up in the pan. But just try that, cooking it low and slow, and see if that doesn't work well too, and you don't need to use that. All right, so I am going to now add this slowly in and kind of stir quick so the egg doesn't cook. Ooh, that looks so good. I'm gonna turn that down just a little bit. You know, another feature of this induction cooktop is that when you turn it down, it's down, which I really love, because, you know, just like just now, I would have had to have removed it from the stove, and I didn't have to do that. So this is just gonna cook for just another few minutes just to get it nice and thick. And then what we'll do is add this over here to the macaroni. All right, so that is looking just about right. You see it's coating my spatula. So I'm gonna turn my heat off. I'm gonna add in the rest of my cooked bacon. And now I'm gonna be ready to add this to my noodles over here. Oh gosh. Like I said, it makes a lot. So either freeze it or find somebody that smelled that bacon cooking and let them enjoy it too. So just blend this all together, and like I said, I'm gonna put some of this in my pottery dish and the rest in a pan to give to someone. And when we come back from the break, we're gonna get started on the Brussels sprout salad. Has bacon in it, so maybe the kids will try it. Come back with me in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, and if you're just joining me, we're doing bacon today. You know, we're doing Southern ingredients and Southern techniques. So this is all about bacon and the techniques of cooking bacon. So during the break, I finished the macaroni and cheese that has the bacon in it. Beautiful topping that goes on top with the breadcrumbs and the Parmesan cheese. It's gonna bake up beautifully, and this is a very creamy macaroni and cheese. All right, so now we're gonna start on the Brussels sprout salad that has an apple cider vinaigrette. This also has bacon in it, so let's speak to that first. So this bacon, and again, I've cut it into bite-sized pieces. We cooked this on the grill. So this is another great way to get bacon cooked, where if you don't want that aroma in your house, you bought a new scented candle and you don't want that to overpower everything, then let's cook the bacon on the grill. So a lot of times I'll cover the bottom with some aluminum foil. You could use a disposable pan, but you want to brush your grates of your grill with a little bit of oil just so this won't stick. You're gonna put it at a good like 325, 350 temperature, and then lay the strips out going across on the grate. And this is gonna cook for about 20 to 25 minutes. And you don't have to flip it, because it's gonna cook all the way around, but you know, some thicknesses are different, so you might wanna check it like midway just to make sure. But I have gone ahead and done my Brussels sprouts. You know, the fall is the perfect time for Brussels sprouts. So those are rinsed and cleaned. I've got my food processor. I'm gonna put those in and just grind them into almost like a slaw. Just grate those, and even if you have some big chunks like this, it doesn't matter, because it's a, you know, it's a really nice salad. Once I've done that, I laid them out between two sheet pans, covered that with a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and just mixed it up with my hands. I put that in the oven to get them nice and roasted. And I'm letting this kind of cool off for a few minutes while I make the dressing, but I'm gonna add that. We're gonna do sugared candied pecans, which is actually a recipe in my cookbook, which I love. And you know, we did pecans last week. Now we've got some feta cheese. and some dried cranberries. So it's a really pretty salad, and you've got a little bit of sweet, tart. You know, the cheese adds a different texture, which is nice. So while that's still cooling, because I don't want to mix it up too quickly, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the dressing. So I'm going to use my blender for this, and I'm going to start with minced garlic. And, you know, I really like to do the garlic clove and mince it instead of buying what's in the jar. Now we've got shallots, and I've chopped those a little bit, but of course they'll get even more chopped in the blender. I've got Dijon mustard. I love these little spatulas too for when you're doing this kind of thing. And you know, one of my things is when you're doing these kinds of recipes, go ahead and measure all of your ingredients. You feel like you have your own show too. All right, so here's our apple cider vinegar. Now I've got some fresh squeezed lemon juice and honey. And that's really where your natural sweetness comes in. All right, so I'm just gonna blend this together. And once that's blended, and that's looking good, I'm gonna pour my oil in. Whoop, and it's splattering, so be careful. And that'll blend up. I'll put that in a cruet. We'll toss that right before presentation. So come back with me after the break. We're going to get started on the dessert, which is the bacon caramel brownies. And in Vera's Corner, I'm going to give you some tips on fall decor. So come back with us. Okay, that nip is in the air and fall gatherings are right around the corner. Today I'm going to give you 3 tips on some decor that can make you have the perfect party. For the first craft, gather as many intact acorns as you can. Bake those on a foil-lined baking sheet for a few hours at 170 degrees. When cooled, use acrylic paint to brush in the direction of the acorn's grain. Paint with 1 coat for a lighter finish and 2 coats for an opaque. Display in a clear container or open dish. Next, gather a few cur jars, leaf-shaped vinyl cutouts, and some vibrant craft paint. Place a leaf-shaped cutout on the flat side, cover with several coats of paint, allow each to dry before adding another. When completely dry, carefully remove the leaf cutout and touch up any rough edges. Fill the bottom with rocks or corn kernels and place a tea light inside. Finally, a magnolia pumpkin for your mantel or fall table. You'll need a plastic white pumpkin and an artificial strand of magnolia leaves and flowers. Pull off the flowers and leaves from the stem, arrange like a bouquet, and then hot glue to the top of the pumpkin. For an added touch, glue some tiny gold beads into the middle of the magnolia flower. That's it. Use these simple crafts to get your home ready for the season. Welcome back, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed Vera's Corner. You know, I love to get decorated for all the different seasons, and honestly, fall is one of my absolute favorites. Brussels sprout salad turned out great. You know, that's a fall vegetable, so keep that recipe in mind. And all of our recipes are available on our website at VeryVera.com. All right, so dessert, it's always like the star of the show. In this brownie recipe, if you're invited somewhere where you're supposed to bring a dish, then this is the one you want to bring because nobody will have had this brownie recipe. It is fantastic. All right, so we had a little bit to do ahead, but I want to go ahead and get the sugar into this melted chocolate so it can start to dissolve. So this is butter and dark, semi-sweet cocoa. So it really has a great chocolate flavor. And now I'm going to add in granulated sugar and brown sugar to that and just stir that around just so it can start to dissolve. You know, the smells in here today are fantastic. And my mother-in-law told me years ago, if you don't have anything planned really great for dinner, just put some bacon on and then it'll smell like bacon when he comes home. And I thought, God, that's a great idea. All right, so I'm just blending this and letting that kind of dissolve. I've got it on a very low heat. So let me talk to you about what I did in advance. So on the bacon, you know, we're talking about technique. So we've done the top of the stove, we've done the grill. Well, now we're doing the oven. And on this particular one, I'm using thick cut bacon, and I put some brown sugar in a Ziploc bag, 10 slices of bacon, turn that upside down several times to get it good and coated. And then you're gonna take one of your half sheet pans and put one of your racks in it. And I put parchment paper under that and just lay those pieces of bacon out on there, and I preheated my oven to 375. This is gonna cook for about 15 minutes. You actually don't even have to flip this over because it's gonna cook all the way around because of the way the rack sits, but you don't have any splatter. It's wonderful. I also got my pan prepared. The recipe tells you to grease the Pyrex and then grease the parchment because the parchment will stick to the butter. And that way, when we finish this recipe, we can just pull that parchment paper up when it's time to put it in the oven. All right, so this looks pretty good. It's not gonna all the way dissolve, but it's gonna get blended, you know, really nicely. It almost looks like what it looks like when you make that box brownie mix, but you're not gonna do that for this recipe. All right, so I'm gonna take it off the heat. And you know, my star granite countertops, I don't even have to put a trivet down. I can just go right into it. All right, so I'm gonna work quickly here because this is warm, it's not bubbling hot, but I'm gonna go in with 1 egg at a time and just get that mixed in really well. I've got 5 eggs. And you know, when a recipe calls for an egg, generally speaking, it's a large egg. So if you've got only medium eggs, and add another one. If you've got extra large eggs, take one away, because it is part of the chemistry to how this bakes up. All right, so those are looking great. All right, now I'm gonna add my vanilla to this. And again, if you add your vanilla when it's too hot, you kind of lose some of that vanilla flavor. All right, then I went ahead and mixed my cocoa and my flour together, so it was already mixed up. And now I'm gonna add that in. And this you just fold together to get it mixed. Now in front of me, I've also got some caramel and that bacon that I went ahead and cut into pieces. And we're gonna layer this in the pan. We're gonna do the batter, then the caramel, and then the bacon, and then repeat. So I may have to finish this up during the break, but stick with me because in presentation today, I'm gonna show you how to lay this out beautifully. We're gonna talk more seriously about all of the techniques and about where in the world on the pig does the bacon come from. So come back with me in just a few minutes. You know, thank you all for joining me today. You know, these shows this season with Southern ingredients and Southern techniques really take me back to my own roots as a home economics teacher. So I'm really having a great time going over things that have to do with our area, the different ingredients that we can use, and how to prepare foods with our Southern techniques. So we've had a lot of fun today. We've done 3 different recipes and 4 different ways to cook bacon, which I'm going to tell you that last one in just a few minutes. All right, so let's go back through what we did. We started with the macaroni and cheese that had bacon in it. It's kind of a little bit of a process to make this recipe, but it is so worth it. And like I said, if you have an occasion where you're supposed to bring a dish, do something really unusual and your guest will be so thrilled. It always turns out great. I love it. And then we did the Brussels sprout salad with the apple cider vinaigrette dressing. You know, so many different ways you could actually do the Brussels sprouts, whether you do it in the food processor or you slice it, but it really looks pretty again on the plate. I put a little bit more of the dressing on it right as I plated it. I love the way that looks, very tasty. And then finally the brownies, and my goodness, this tower of brownies, this would be the highlight of a get-together this fall for tailgating. I think you would absolutely love to do that. So the different ways that we cook bacon today, we did it on the cooktop, but cooking it on top, just remember to use the cold pan. Then we went to the grill. And on the grill, again, if you don't want that aroma in your house, and I can't imagine why, cook it on the grill. But remember, 325 to 350 is the perfect temperature. Don't get in a hurry and think you can turn it up to 425. You might set that grill on fire. So be careful there. And then we did it in the oven, which is a really great way, especially if you have to cook a lot of bacon. If you've got weekend guests and you want to get that out of the way, that's the perfect way to do it. Lastly, I want to suggest the microwave. If you're using it in cooking or like a garnish, or you're sprinkling it in a salad, the microwave is a great way to cook it quickly. So remember that. And then in terms of bacon, where on the pig is the bacon? Well, it's actually the belly. It's the very bottom of the belly on the pig, and it's just, bacon is a universal love from children all the way up to grown-ups. Love a good piece of bacon. Please remember to try these recipes on our website at VeryVera.com. And presenting wise, just remember to spread things out, maybe stack a little bit. The chicken could have been up on top of the salad there, would have been attractive. I love to use kind of my plaids and denims and the pewter this time of year. I like that. So remember, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. I hope you'll come back and join me again next week. We're going to be doing a lot of tailgating shows over the next couple of weeks, so tune in.